On Monday, and your host, Asel. Today, I will be talking about one of the fundamentals, which is wanting to belong. Or if you feel like you don't belong where you are, then this is for you. So, this is a topic that I have been discussing with several of my clients, and this is what comes up is that we either believe that belonging comes from other people. So, in other words, the way we feel whether we belong or not from other people, if they accept us, if they like us, then we feel like we belong. And the other concept or topic that comes up around belonging is that I need to change who I am in order to belong. And I can't, the meaning is that I can't just belong for who I am. So I need to modify myself, be someone, or adjust myself, or pretend then I belong. So these are the two main um, beliefs that we have around belonging. And here is what happens when we navigate our lives around those beliefs is that one is we feel like we never belong because we keep searching for the people who can accept us. And even if, let's say, majority of them accept and one doesn't, and we feel like we don't belong, right? We keep pretending until we feel like we can be accepted. So we keep pretending to be someone that we're not. We keep pretending to like things that we don't like, actually. Or we keep pretending to talk about topics that we actually don't find interesting, but for the sake of wanting to belong to that group, then we try to do that. And then all of that energy that it takes, that makes us just feeling exhausted. And that's why we just feel like we're not in our place where we should be or we want to be. And then we just feel like we're performing something or we are in the performing role most of the time. And then when we go home and then we are in our own safe place, we just remove the mask, we remove the pretending things, or we remove all the things that we're not or we don't like. Then we just feel like, oh, that's better, right? So the because this feeling of belonging is such a fundamental feeling that we all humans want to feel, and that's a very natural thing that we want to be part of a group, part of a community, part of organization, part of team, right? This is such a fundamental part of us, and therefore if we feel like there is a sign of us not feeling that we belong, if we feel like we don't belong, then it has such big impact on our emotional well-being that then we keep thinking about it a lot of the times instead of maybe focusing on the things that we want to focus on, right? So therefore I really want to use this episode to challenge that, and I will be writing a post about this as well, where all of these questions that you'll be hearing from me now, they are all there as well. So in case, check out my post as well. So let us challenge those concepts of belonging comes from other people or belonging comes from others accepting us. And the other concept that I want you to challenge is I can only belong if I change, right? So the way that you challenge is, so first is the assumption behind is that we can only feel belonging if others accept us, right? So challenge what accepting means to you. And that's such a fascinating question, even though it's a very simple question, but it's a fascinating question. I was asking myself and I was like, I guess if they like me. Okay. But then statistically speaking, out of let's say 10 people that we're trying to belong to a group of 10 people that we're trying to belong to, statistically speaking, definitely there's one person, if not more, who will not like us, right? Then the question is, do we still consider we belong or not? Are we belonging if not 100% of them are accepting us, right? And the other question that I want you to challenge, like use to challenge your conception is, why do we need to be accepted so we can feel belonging? Why can't we just feel belonging even if people don't accept us? Or why can't we just feel belonging if some of the people accept us? Right? So let's say that we use the logic of, okay, accepting means they understand us, they like us, they respect us. Okay, this is, let's say, our understanding of accepting. Then, if that's the case, then let's say out of 10 people, let's again, right, imaginary, arbitrary number, out of 10 people in that group, let's say some of them do that. Then that would be a great reason to be feeling belonging, right? But somehow our brain does not allow us to feel that belonging unless all of them accept us, right? That's how usually it feels like. We feel like, okay, all of them need to accept us, like us, understand us, respect us, then we feel belonging. Otherwise, we don't, right? The other one that the concept that I want you to challenge yourself is, I need to change so that they accept me, right? We were challenging with one of my clients recently, and we were saying the same thing. Is like, okay, why do we believe that we need to change ourselves in order to fit in? Why can we not ever ask them to fit in into what we have, right? We never think of that because we feel like, well, that would be egoistic. Then why are we following or wanting to change ourselves to go and fit into them? It doesn't sound proportionate. But even if it's, let's say, proportionate is not important, but why do we believe changing requires for us to fit in, for us to feel like we belong? What happens if we don't? And what about the diversity, the uniqueness and inclusivity that we want to include all people with different backgrounds, different types of ways of living, different characteristics, and all of this? Where does that go? If we just say that, well, I can't be who I am, um, to be belonging, I need to be like them, or I need to be changing, or whatever, then we're just contradicting our own belief of diverse environments, right? And the other thing that whenever I tell people that the solution to feeling belonging is you deciding that you belong, and everyone's like, well, I can't do that. And then I get curious because I have gone through this as well in so many different ways, right? And when I challenge them and say, why can't you just feel belonging? And why can't you just decide to belong, no matter what others are saying, accepting or not accepting? And then they tell me, well, that would be lying. I can't just lie to myself, right? And then I say, but let's challenge that too. Is that really a lie? Right? Is that really lying when we decide to um, feel belonging? Why is it lying? Because I guess our brain says, well, if they're not really accepting us and we deciding that we belong there, then it would be lying, right? But then let's go and further challenge that. So we said that accepting is when some of the people in the group like us, respect us, understand us, let's say, but some of the group are not, or even if they tell us they are, but we don't really know what's actually going on within them. So therefore, statistically speaking, there will be bound to be people who may not like us, who may not understand us, who may not think that we are a good fit, all of these things, right? So us deciding to like feel belonging, no matter what the others are saying or not saying, seems to be better way to act in such situations instead of keep longing for belonging, even when some people are accepting us. So we should feel belonging, but we're not allowing ourselves to do that because we're believing that all of them or most of them, whatever it is. So the lying part is actually we're lying to ourselves to believe that there is a situation where all of them will 100% accept us, right? That would be lying. Because I don't know if there will ever be a time where everyone in the group will accept us 100%, like us, and understand us, and all of this. It can never happen. So it's lying. But if we decide to feel belonging, no matter what the group is saying or not saying, is we're just giving ourselves the permission to feel that because we have the ability to feel belonging. We have the ability because we have the uh, emotion producing glands, we have the mind, they all together can produce the feeling of belonging. The reason why we're not feeling it is because we're not allowing ourselves to feel it. And the reason why we're not allowing ourselves to feel it is because we're telling ourselves that it's conditioned upon all of these people around me who tell me that they are accepting me, then I can say that I belong. And if they don't, then I don't. That is one way of approaching it. But the problem with that type of approach is that then we will be always trying to see if they are accepting us or not accepting us. They are approving of us or not approving of us. And therefore, we lose ourselves in the process of who we are and what we stand for, right? We just instead keep trying to be part of them so that they can accept us, so that then we can feel belonging. When in reality, when like physiologically, we have the ability to feel belonging where we are for whatever reason we decide to be. So the other thing that I want you to think about is why us being humans, having similar interest of working for the cause as humanitarians, defending human rights, doing good things for other people who are suffering, why these are not enough reasons to feel belonging already? Right? What else do we believe that we need to have in order to feel belonging? What do you think? Because our I think our brain somehow wants us to believe that there needs to be like a magic formula that unites us all, and we all need to find that formula, which we know does not exist, right? But I feel like my brain does that all the time too. Is like, okay, in order for you to belong, you really need to stop being a b c or XYZ, and then you can belong. Then I challenge myself to say, well, but what about me advocating for diversity, for inclusion, for respecting uniqueness of every human being, respecting and embracing genius of every human being so different? What about those things? Where did they go? They can't be sacrificed at the expense of me wanting to feel belonging, right? So therefore, when you start challenging your own conceptions of what is behind feeling belonging, and do you really like those reasons? And if not, then what are you going to do? So to wrap up, really what I want you to allow yourself to consider the possibility of you feeling belonging already without any other conditions. You feeling belonging to where you are in the organization or in that team because you have uh, um, genius ideas for how to serve people who are suffering and doing the work for the common cause, I think these are amazing, good reasons to be already feeling belonging to that group, to that place, right? Therefore, if you decided that it was possible for you to feel belonging no matter what others are saying or not saying, then what would you need to think or believe about yourself? Or what do you need to believe in general for you to be feeling belonging? So for me, it's like I belong because I'm here to do this work with these people. I belong to what I'm doing because I love what I'm doing, and I always create people around me who want the same things. And these are the people who want the same things, so therefore I belong. I don't need to change anything for me to belong because I deeply, deeply respect diversity and inclusion, and I believe in those principles, and I want to create those spaces where I show up as who I am, and I also create space for other people to show up as who they are. And I will be understanding, accepting of their differences and my differences as well. So, therefore, the first solution to feeling belonging is you deciding that you belong for whatever reasons, and you get clear on what those reasons are. And then if your brain at second rebels and argues with you and says that, well, you can't just decide to be belonging, you need to have XYZ in place for you to belonging, challenge yourself. What are those things? What do you believe your brain says in terms of needs to be in place for you to feel belonging? And do you accept them or not? And when you challenge your brain and start understanding what are the underlying conditions that your brain believes is there for you to feel belonging, ask yourself why your feeling belonging need to be conditioned. Why can't you just feel belonging just because you chose to be there and to do this work with other people? And the third thing is when you clear out this um, like challenges or obstacles of belonging and you just feel belonging, then notice what's different, how you show up, and what are the things you do versus when you keep seeking for belonging and keep trying to uh, like fit in or trying to pretend. What is different between when you keep pretending or trying to get in or trying to get approval or trying to get acceptance from others versus you deciding to belong to where you are, to do the work with those people around you? And if not with all of them, at least with some of them, and what's different, and then noticing the difference between those two and how much brain space and how much freedom you gain from feeling belonging just because you're a human, just because you're working on this cause as humanitarian, having whatever other reasons you believe that you have, and feeling belonging already from those will give you so much freedom and brain space for you to focusing on what matters instead of keep struggling with existential or fundamental questions of whether I belong and how do I belong. And my advocacy here is really check with yourself. Is this really how you want to be spending your um, genius brain on trying to fit in? Or rather, you deciding that I'm going to try to test it at least, right? Test it and decide I belong. Here are the reasons why. And therefore my belonging does not need to fulfill any conditions. And I'm going to focus on this work. And then you can also check maybe you do not want to belong in that group as well, right? Maybe you don't approve how they're doing what they're doing. And if that is the case, owning that and being honest with yourself and say, if I don't want to belong to that group, then how else am I going to handle? What else am I going to do? That would be another road to go. So, my dears, if you have any questions or you want to get coaching on this fundamental topic of feeling belonging, absolutely come coach with me. I would love to do that because I have gone through so much work on this and I would love to help you get through this to feeling that freedom, to feeling that inner peace, acceptance, to be focusing on what matters to you. Have a beautiful Monday. I'll speak to you very soon.